Hello guys, in today's video we're going to check out the best TV for console gaming in 2020. I made this list based on my personal opinion and I tried to list them based on their price, quality, durability and more. If you want to see their price and find out more information about them, you can check out the links in the description below. Let's get started. Number 5. TCL 55S535, best under $500. TCL 55S535 TV marries premium picture and endless entertainment for a stellar home theatre experience. Quantum dot technology and the HDR Pro Pack with Dolby Vision combined for greater brightness and contrast, as well as a full palette of rich colours. TCL Contrast Control Zone technology optimizes the image across individual zones to yield striking contrast between light and dark areas. For gamers, a responsive TV is just as important as one with a good picture. With Auto Game Mode, you will experience the smoothest action, lowest latency and the best picture settings for gaming automatically. The TCL 5 Series has a good design. It's an improvement over the TCL 5 Series S525 of 2019 because it has thin bezels and a new design on the back. This TV also has new feet that include cable management, which is a nice addition. It displays deep blacks when viewed in the dark. The TCL 5 Series is great for gaming. It has an incredibly low input lag, quick response time, and a black frame insertion feature to help reduce motion blur. Sadly, it's limited to 60Hz refresh rate and doesn't support any VRR technology, but overall it really is one of the best TVs for console gaming. Number 4. Samsung Q80T, best price to performance ratio. Samsung's premium-priced mid-range QLED barely puts a pedestal wrong, offering vibrant HDR, a forward-facing feature set and HD upscaling to die for. It's inevitable that the Q80T, which features an FALD full-array local dimming backlight, is not going to be the slimmest flat screen on the shelves, but for most buyers the extra bulk is going to be worth it. On the subject of VRR, the FreeSync format used by the Xbox One X and One S is supported out of the box, while G-Sync is apparently coming soon. The Q80T's peak brightness is rated at 1500 nits, which is just 500 nits lower than that of the Q95T, and still very bright indeed. Adaptive Sound Plus is definitely worth using though, as everything sounds quite small scale without it. While the Q80T looks fairly conservative, it actually boasts a rather radical sound system. Rather than just relying on downward-firing stereo speakers, Samsung's designers have added a second pair at the top left and right of the display. To sum up, I'd say that the Samsung Q80T gets just about everything it sets out to do right. Number 3. Sony X900H, best under $1,000. Sony X900H in the US and XH90 in Europe has been referred to as the PlayStation 5 TV, and it's also one of Sony's ready for PS5 TVs based primarily on its HDMI 2.1 capabilities, including support for 4K 120, that is 4K at 120 pictures per second. It's also an Android TV with a new more powerful SoC that's not been used in any previous Sony TV. Sony has put a lot of effort into improving the ability of its 4K TVs to upscale sub-4K content. By combining the prodigious power of its X1 4K HDR picture processing chip with an ever-expanding database of 4K relevant images, it intends to offer greater detail, texture and, well, 4K-ness to 1080p material. And to a very great extent that proves to be the case. With a solid basis of black, the X900H doesn't have to get extremely bright to appear vivid. All but the 55-inch model in the X900H range features Sony's grand-sounding acoustic multi-audio system. In practice, this equates to 20 watts powering 2 full-range drivers and a couple of tweeters positioned near the top of the back of the screen's chassis, one on either side. Is Sony X900H the PlayStation 5 TV? Well, it's hard to say for sure until PlayStation 5 arrives, and even more crucially, until Sony releases the firmware required to enable HDMI 2.1 and related features. No timeline has been announced. However, we would argue that its mediocre HDR picture quality is a big limitation. More and more console games are released in HDR. Number 2. Samsung Q90T, best runner-up. The Samsung Q90 QLED TV is part of the Samsung 2020 TV catalogue and sits at the top of the manufacturer's 4K QLED lineup. There's higher-end 8K QLED TVs like the Q800T and Q950T, but the Samsung Q90T is as premium as you can get with a 4K resolution. It's one of the best Samsung TVs for movies. The Samsung Q90T is actually a fair bit cheaper than last year's Samsung Q90R flagship because Samsung has made a few cuts in terms of design of the TV. There's no One Connect box and there are fewer local dimming zones than last year. As is only fitting for a TV that costs a not inconsiderable sum of money, the Samsung Q90T is extensively packed with features. It has a 3840 by 2160 resolution for starters. Those millions of pixels are backlit using a full-array local dimming arrangement, which is divided into a little over 100 zones that can be controlled on an individual basis. That's not a huge number, truth be told, but it should be enough to give the Q90T a chance of offering good bright or dark contrast control and detail levels. The Smart TV interface and the fairly extensive setup menus can be navigated using one of the two bundled remote control handsets. Google Assistant should be making an appearance sooner rather than later. Putting our gripes with Bixby aside, Tizen delivers a phenomenally fast and responsive experience 99% of the time. It has almost every major streaming service and it goes from standby to streaming Netflix in under 20 seconds. Number 1. LG CX Best Overall. LG has improved on this OLED, beefing up its video processing with a new Alpha 9 Gen 3 processor and its touted AI Think software. One of its primary functions is to differentiate between different types of on-screen objects, such as faces and graphics, for example, to deliver more detailed processing. You can also set the software to detect what kind of content, sports versus movies, is being watched and automatically adjust the picture. However, the included wedge-shaped tabletop stand makes for a very sturdy support. It attaches with a handful of screws, but it takes two people to set it upright on a credenza. In setting up the LG CX, you'll find a welter of image options to satisfy virtually any taste. LG has also added several performance features for gaming. There's a reduced latency game mode, auto low latency mode, of course, which worked well with our Xbox One 4K games. LG also supports NVIDIA's G-Sync and the Open FreeSync for those inclined to connect a gaming laptop and looking to get the smoothest images possible. The LG supports HGIG for HDR gaming, and if you're looking for the best 4K picture available, the LG CX will not disappoint. The addition of improved sound and some of the best smart TV features, including voice control, just make this package all the more appealing. Buying guide. Refresh rate. Gamers spend a lot of time talking about refresh rates or frames per second or hertz. Some people think that refresh rates are nonsense and that the human eye can't see the difference between 60 FPS and 120 FPS, but that's nonsense. The human brain can react to changing visual stimuli in a millisecond or 1/1000th of a second. While higher refresh rates are great, you may not need a 120Hz TV. Higher refresh rates are usually a trade-off for raw visual quality, and there's a good chance you're already comfortable with 60 FPS or less. Resolution. Popular home consoles have displayed content in full HD resolution or 1080p for the past 10 years, so it hasn't been a factor to consider until the announcement of the PS4 Pro and codenamed Xbox Scorpio. Both promise to deliver 4K Ultra HD gaming in our living rooms, so if you have your eye on one of these, it might be wise to consider picking up a 4K Ultra HD TV in preparation. And low lag. Before worrying about image quality or resolution, focus on finding a low latency TV. Latency or lag is the time it takes for your TV to display an image on screen. When gaming, a ton of lag can ruin your ability to react to obstacles or enemies. Hardcore gamers tend to aim as low as possible, some swear by 13 millisecond TVs, but we suggest getting anything under 30 milliseconds. Why are we mentioning latency? Well, because cheap 4K HDR TVs are burdened with a ton of latency. If you're in the market for a $200 gaming TV, you might want to skip 4K and HDR and focus your money on a low latency 1080p TV.